welcome to another episode of Ranking of Racers. And in this episode, we're checking out Excitebike 64 for the Nintendo 64 and Grand Tour, the video game, for the Xbox One. So we're going to start with Excitebike 64, but let's check out our current rankings. You can see from a previous episode, Fuel is currently at the bottom. Doesn't mean it's terrible. Remember, these rankings are just A, my opinion, and B, just what order I think of, like how good or how enjoyable they are, and what I think overall as a racing game. So I think there's enjoyment in all these games so far. But in the top three at the moment is Team Sonic Racing in third place for the Xbox One, Blur for the Xbox 360 is in second place, and number one on the ranking of races so far is Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS. So we're going to head over now. I'll show you a couple of races for Excitebike 64, then we'll decide where that goes on our rankings, and then we'll switch over to the Grand Tour, the game, and decide where that goes on the list. So let's see where these two video games end up on our overall list. And I think at this rate, we're going to have to make the text a little bit smaller on this list because we're getting a little bit longer, but we've still got lots and lots of games. Like I said in previous episodes, we have at least over 100 racing games, and we keep adding more all the time. Let's swap over to the first race of Excitebike 64. Right, here's our first race in Excitebike 64. So this is like sort of like a sequel to the original Excitebike games, and then later on they made Excite Truck. Jump into our first race here. So obviously it's an N64 game, so usual with the visuals here. A little bit dated. Overall, right, so we've got a drift, got like a turbo thing. I found that useful for going uphill. Now there's a range of camera angles, I will show you them. We've got this distance one, up as I crash, trying to show the cameras. Got this one, this one, this one. I like to stick to the second one. Got a drift, speed boost. There's various difficulties for the AI. Quite a few races on here. Now, if the color looks slightly off, that's because we're playing the Wii U emulation. It turns out the Wii U emulation has like a weird darker filter on to stop. And Nintendo was worried about people having epileptic fits. So they put this filter on. So unfortunately, it has dampened the color, but we'll take that into consideration. But I think overall, it still holds up pretty well. Austin might do better in a different race. We're just going from the mechanics here. There's no real spring boost as you might see in other racing games, bike games. But there's this turbo, so I'm guessing that's like preloading the springs. Just give you a bit more height up there. The drifting overall works alright. It actually is handling pretty well. I found some... it's a little bit sensitive for falling off when you get bashed by someone else. I found some of these bike games to be a little bit too sensitive on the handling, which has made some of them more tricky. And when we add some more motorbike games to future episodes, you might notice that a bit more as well. But yeah, it seems like a series Nintendo seems to have forgotten about. There are some outdoor tracks. I've mainly only seen indoor ones, but hopefully we'll do better on the next race. Okay, so the drifting is a little bit awkward. Seems to just carry on a few times. Right, let's head over to the next race. Right, here we are for our second race, the Canyon Chasm. What you would have missed, we had started this race. Unfortunately, there's not a button to reset your vehicle, but I couldn't find it in the instruction manual. If you go off track, and we had a bit of a bad crash and we had to reload the match. So a quick way of doing it. So that's a bit of a down. I would have thought there'd be like a reset button. But we're going to try some stunts out. Like I was saying before, the a little bit close. That's better. The turbo has like a heat bar to make sure you don't overuse it. Oh, you can turn off the UI. Okay. Oh, we need the UI. Okay. Multiple track things. I would say the handling's alright, but it's a little bit finicky. So usually it'd be music, but as always on YouTube videos, so to turn the music off because of DMCA. What is... Wow. Controls in this game, not so easy to get back to. So here, ideally, you'd want to time it. We just went a little bit squiff there. The drifting is a little bit off. Oh, damn me. That was this. You'd have to really charge it for that one. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen one of those. Oh. So yeah, this game does come with Rumble as well. Obviously, if you were playing the N64 version, you'd have to have Rumble. That's where we crashed last time. Man, these controls are... Sometimes when you're racing, it's fine, and then you have moments like that. So these are all things to take into consideration of how we rank these races and how good they are. Come on. Oh, we haven't tried the stunt yet, so you have to hold the C. Yep. Fortunately, the button is on the same place we changed the camera, so... Ooh. Well, I can tell you now, this outside track might look cooler, but... a little bit of a nightmare. So yeah, visually, yeah, it looks like usually an N64 game. There's some jaggies about, but... oh, well, it's not too bad. Bike sounds a little bit on the dated side. Okay. Hoping if we just hold this down, we can clear it. Wow. Okay, that was a full turbo then. So, yeah. Okay. Let's hop into another race. So next race is a classic, a Woodland Forest that you usually see in these games. So let's check that out. A bit of mixture terrain here, some asphalt and off-roading. Ooh. I think overall, yeah, track design seems good. I like the track design. I think some of these controls are a little bit awkward. That's put me off. I think sometimes like the drifting can take get a bit out of control. As you can see now, it's holding up pretty well. Oh, we've got an event. Oh, that's just very vibratory over that wood there. You can see with those jumps, you can easily lose a bit of control there. Yeah, that's what I mean by the drift swift. Sometimes it's like getting yourself back straight is tricky. Let's have this jump around. Yeah, at least get a warning sound if you're overheating. Yeah, and there's quite a few courses what I've seen in this game, so vehicles and the people look right. Usual N64 affair here. Whoa. Ah. It is very sensitive to... Ah. And this resetting you back in the right place is annoying. Weird how they could... Like, if there is a reset button, that would be good, but I actually looked through the original manual and it's not listed there, which I was very surprised about. So we're going to take all this into consideration. I'm gotta try and think where we should put it on the list. And like as... Oh my goodness me. And as always, you can let me know where you would rank it on the list of games we've done so far. Whoop. Wow. Okay, there was Excitebike 64. Now, I think overall, there's some issues that I didn't realize coming back to it to come and do this ranking. It definitely has some issues. Now, we're going to get up the ranking screen here. So, I've been thinking about it while we were doing this as well, and where to go. Now, I like the races. Handles alright for the most part, but as you saw for those few races, there are some tricky bits, so it obviously takes a little bit more to master it. I think like the diverse locations and diverse track styles, the controls are fairly good, except for those few issues. I think having more locations and various locations and various track styles, and there's even a track editor in here as well. I'm going to have to rank it. I'm going to rank it above Destruction Derby, but below Grid. That's tricky because, you know, Grid just has a little bit more polish. I know it's newer, so we've got to take that into consideration, but Grid suffers from the same issue, had some slightly awkward controls and drifting. But I think there's a little bit less punishing for like being able to reset quicker and stuff. This is a lot more punishing if you mess up. That's it. You've really messed up. That takes a little bit of the fun out of it. So I'm going to put it there. So we're back in 1 second while I add that. And there you go. There's Excitebike 64 between Grid and Destruction Derby. And now we're going to swap over to our next game, the Grand Tour, the game. Back in a second. So next up we've got Grand Tour, the game. Now, this should be interesting. Obviously, it's based off the show, the Grand Tour, with Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond. Now, this section of ranking races is still going to be the same. We're just going to rank the racing section of this game. Now, the strange thing is, you can watch the normal episodes, and occasionally it switches over to you. I found out if you go to local split screen, that's the section with one player where you just get straight into the races and you do a series of different races. We're going to do that. So that's just a little extra note I wanted to give at the beginning there. Particularly the one player bit where you can just do the races and not have to bother with the episodes is in local split screen. That's a strange thing. So that's what we're checking out. Just wanted to point that out. Also, I'm just here to give my opinion on the racing and stuff. These three guys are very controversial. I understand that. So we don't want to get into the messy politics of are they good? Are they bad? Is it wrong what some of the stuff to do? I'm not here to give the opinion. It's a mixed bag, I'll be honest. So, and I haven't really got any feelings to share because I'm here to talk about the racing. That is a discussion for a different day. So I just wanted that note to get out of the way, just in case I don't make any comments about them in particular. I'm here just to purely analyze like how scientifically good is the racing parts of this game. So we're going to do this local split screen. It thinks I'm offline for some reason. I'm not. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this current rankings and then we'll hop right in. So we're back 1 second. Right, here we are into our first race. Now there's a mixture of cars that you can choose from, locations, and even your character. That's mainly for voice. So I've gone for James May here. Yes, there's a mixture of car types and then cars within those car types. Obviously not as much as you'd find like in Forza and stuff. And a lot of the locations I have played are definitely point A to point B. Now, one thing you're going to notice straight away, and you're like looking at the screen going, something seems a bit off. Like, that location looks good, but something seems off. Yeah, all the locations and cars, everything has like a good look to it. But if someone... Oh, I'm getting attacked by dubstep. If you smeared it with like some type of softness filter, and it's really a bit off-putting. Also, there's power-ups, weirdly enough. Oh. So there's things like fireworks, to like weird dubstep thing. I've not seen them all yet. I've set the difficulty to medium here to see what they were like. Handling seems alright, so he's tried to want to turn or drift. You can even turn off the what they call moaning. I'm guessing that's like the actors, the characters' banter between one another. Like I said, a lot of these tracks at point A to point B, not very exciting, some of them.
Oh no, no, definitely.
Handling's not awful, it's just, there is just something slightly off about it. I can't put my finger on it, but... And it's very short as well, some of these tracks. So, there's the first track. It's going to be a short episode of Ranking Races, because Excitebike 64's tracks were quite short as well. Let's move over to the next race. Here we go. Here we go, second race. Now, there is a button for drifting. It's separate from just hitting the brake, so... if it's necessary. Now this is one that says actually got lapped, so this should be interesting too. Like, once again, like, cool seeing locations from the show. There's no denying that, but this weird mix of Mario Kart style power-ups, these cars, it's that weird soft filter. Really off-putting. I think if it didn't have the soft filter, it might look a bit better, like if it was sharp and crisp, but I'm not sure why they put that filter in. Oh, right, I got hit by something there. Right. Oh. Attacked by power-ups here. Which, having like power-ups and... I just made a nuisance call. Oh. It's funny how they've gone for some different power-ups here. And having power-ups is pretty cool. It gives me like the Blur vibes. Just nowhere near as polished. Oh, sending a text message. Oh, I can't see anything. Oh. Oh no. Also, what are these people texting off phones from early 2000s? Yeah, you can see how these power-ups might get in the way of trying to actually race and get through this. One thing I will give it a plus, no matter your feelings on the TV show, the transitions from the TV show into like, the car scenes, really, really good actually. I was surprised. Those bits actually worked really well. But it's also weird to watch an episode of the TV show where you do the racing bits where in your head sounds good, but apparently like one of the things I like watching about the TV show is the actual driving and car scenes. So it feels weird where it's just like, I'm going to watch the bit where they're just showing some environmental stuff or chatting or something. And then the cool bit where you usually see like, oh, it's cool camera angles and cool driving sequences. Totally up to you. So that really tells you quickly how much do you enjoy the filler in between or not. Also, the quality of the live action video is not as good as like just watching it on streaming straight away. So there you go. That was the second race, and then we'll go and watch the last race, and then we'll see where it comes. Right, here we go. Third race. So the other thing that was a little bit annoying, but it doesn't really affect like my opinion of the racing sections. But the races are quite short, and the loading times are quite long. So it's not like, oh, I've just jumped into these races. Obviously, for this video, I've edited out the loading screens. Oh, I'm throwing high T. I think that's where I've thrown fine pottery behind me for some reason. Fine China, sorry. Yeah, more locations. Once again, this blur effect is really...
Well, that's interesting.
I'm talking about an Xbox One game here where sometimes it's like, yeah, it might be a little bit better than an Xbox 360 game, but the blurriness isn't making me scream out Xbox One. Yeah, overall handling is fine. I think there's just not quite enough here. I think having to play short races amongst like a whole episode, you watch like a 45-minute episode and you get a chance to do like maybe 3 events or something, or you have to secretly go into this split screen mode, which I'm doing now, and just go, I'm just want to do split screen, but it's one player. Why they hit it in there? That's weird. There's some weird designs. Like, would you just not call it quick race and just like have the option for split screen? Like, even I didn't know. I was just messing about with the menus, and that's how I discovered this. Otherwise, I was a bit like, am I gonna have to record like the sequences between the cutscenes?
Yes. Yes.
Well, not the cutscenes, between parts of the episode. So, you know what? This isn't awful. I think I'd come back and do a bit more, but
Hello. Hello.
as a racing game, I'm ranking it.
You have
This is going to be a tricky one because
Thank you.
I wouldn't say it's awful, but the weird, blurry look to it,
I'm bored already, actually.
and
No. No.
I think just the lack of content for a more modern game and things that don't actually come into our rankings. And I'm not going to put it against it. This is quite a large game. We're talking like 50 gigabytes, so it's probably saying you'd watch the episodes, do the racing sequences once, and then not play it again. But I'm tempted to try this out in multiplayer with some family and friends when things are safer. Yeah. The Grand Tour. We're just going to finish this lap up and then don't pass me now. Also, yes, the AI seems very inconsistent. You can be doing fine and then suddenly...
Thank you very much.
Yeah, rubber banding is pretty harsh. Come on.
Really?
No, come on. Ah,
Have you got any idea what you're doing? Looking good.
no, no. Like the idea of like another game like Blur America, but with real licensed car is
Easy.
a really cool idea. But wow, there you go. Well, that just shows that last year's rubber banding is a bit all over the place. Let's get our list up here. Current rankings. Okay, so you know what? It's tricky because it feels really bad to put it below Blur and below Fuel. Fuel's got something to it. The issue with Fuel was that whole thing like, I've got to win this race, otherwise I'm not getting forwards. Do you mean? It had more vehicles, more diverse locations. Yes, it didn't look good, but that was an Xbox 360 game, and it didn't look good for an Xbox 360 game. And this got kind of the same issue. This doesn't look good for an Xbox One game. Like I said, it's just that filter, that weird, blurry, like someone stuck Vaseline in your eye filter is an off one. And how much you like the license is another thing. Like, if you love the Grand Tour, then you probably lap this up. But I'm here to rank the racing. I think as a racing game, I think some of the tracks lack the thing, and the opponents lack that spark. So I think I'll have to stick it below Fuel. So let's me stick it below Fuel. I'll be back in a second. And there you go. 2 more races that didn't quite make it very high. We got Excitebike 64. Somewhere in the middle between Grid and Destruction Derby. That was a tricky one to decide. It had some issues, and for some reason on today's recording, I didn't seem to do particularly well in the races. But I think that there's a few issues in there that stop it from being as fun as it could be. I think a little bit more polish, and that would be a lot more fun. So it would be cool to see another one. And Grand Tour the game, an interesting experiment with a bit of fun in there, but it's just lacking something. So thank you to our patrons. Let us know where you think these racing games should be ranked, and we'll be carrying on. So join us next time for another ranking of races. And remember to stay safe, and we'll see you next time. And as Jeremy Clarkson would say, on that bombshell, see you next time. Bye.